Hello everyone, welcome back to Adventures with the Todd Father. Today our adventure is going to be a little different. So if you remember the 2021 Ford F-250 Tremor, I had a little custom paint work done on it, and I think it looks good, still looks good. But today I'm going to install a 1.5 inch front leveling kit. It doesn't seem to be too hard. I've already got the parts. I'll show you those when we open them up and look at them. But I think it'll just look so much better if I can get it to level off a little bit. The reason I'm going with the 1.5 inch versus a 2 inch is I still want to be able to put something in the back that maybe squats it just a little bit and have it ride level. If you go a full 2 inches, it rides level when you're empty, but then if you throw a motorcycle or something like that in the back, it lowers the back a little bit and makes it look squatty, and I'm not very fond of that. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm putting this 1.5 inch leveling kit on there. Okay, so I've got the Ford in a storage unit here where I'm going to do my work on it. I've already got the hubcap off. Hopefully it's not too dark in here for doing what I'm doing. I already got the hubcap off. I'm going to jack it up. I got the jack in place. I'm going to jack it up, take the wheel off, and kind of get a look at what we need to do and go from there. Okay, one thing we need to do is get a before measurement. So I got the trusty tape measure here. I'm going to call that 41.25 to the very bottom there of the fender flare. 41.25. Okay, and then I'm going to jack it up, take that wheel off. All right, as you can see, I got the wheel off. Now what I need to do is take this bracket off. It just bolts onto that mounting plate on the bottom. So I'm just going to take that bolt out, take that bracket off, and then that allows all these lines in here to flex. All right, so I've undone that bracket, so now everything can flex and move out of the way. This is the mounting perch that we're going to put a spacer under. Let me grab one of the spacers here, show you what they look like. So that's basically all it is a spacer, and it's going to go between this spring mounting perch and the axle, where it bolts to the axle. So we'll take the spring off, unbolt that in there, put that underneath it, put the new bolt on it. Of course, we got to lower this first, so we got to lower it enough that we can take that spring out. I'm going to do the other side. The other side is going to be basically the same, so mostly I'm going to show this side. Now these came just natural look, or they're aluminum blocks. I painted mine black just so you can't see it in there. I think it'll look better. Okay, I'm over here to the passenger side. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take the wheel off, and I'm going to take that bracket off, and then we'll be ready to lower it down. We'll see how it looks at that point. All right, I'm back over here to the driver's side. One thing I want to look at before I lower this down and do anything is I want to look at the orientation of the spring end. It looks like it's up against this little notch on this front side. I hope you can see that okay. I just want to look at that and make sure I get it back in that same spot. Okay, I think I'm about ready to start lowering it and see if we can get that spring out. All right, I heard you. How many of you were yelling at your screen? You got to take off the shock, you dummy. Maybe a few other choice words. Yes, you do have to disconnect the shock. That is why I was wondering why is that not dropping down far enough. It's because I got to take the shocks, disconnect the shocks. Little bracket on the back came off. Let's see if I can get that out. All right, now that is disconnected. I'll get the other side. All right, you know what they say, third time's the charm. Shocks are disconnected, sway bar is disconnected. I'm not 100% sure you need to disconnect that sway bar. It should twist with the axle, but it's undone now, so we'll see what happens. All right, like they said, third time's the charm. You see the springs separated from the perch on the bottom. Should just wiggle on out of there now. Okay, I lowered it just a little more. That allowed that to move and come out. So now we're going to take out this spring perch here. There's a bolt in the middle. We'll take out that spring perch, put the new block in there. I may have to lower the axle just a little more now that that's going to set up just a little higher to get everything back in place. Let's see what happens.
All right, let's see if we can get this off.
All right, so that little perch just comes right off of there. Make sure that area is clean. And then this, the lift kit itself, just fits right there. And there's a spacer between the axle and the spring perch. This does come with longer bolts and a washer. And some Loctite. Put some Loctite on there. Put the spring perch back in place. Everything looks square and tight in place. If you're wondering what the torque spec is, all the bolts on Ford, the torque spec is a half a turn before it breaks. So you just keep going until it's a half a turn before it breaks. I don't know when that is exactly, but that's the idea. So now you got that little spring perch under there, holds up your spring perch. It's going to give you 1.5 inch lift in the front. Let's see if I can get that spring back in. All right, I'm gonna have to lower the axle a little bit. Let's see if we can lower it just a little more. All right, so I had to get creative. I couldn't quite drop the axle far enough to get my spring perch back in there, and since I didn't have a spring compressor, used a ratchet strap to get that just enough to get in there. I was only about 1 inch shy of getting it, so let's see if we can loosen this and get it up in there. Alright, that worked. Sometimes you just gotta get creative. Alright, it needs to turn just a little bit. Okay, now it's pretty much where it was. The little groove in there. The bottom is pretty much right where it was from before. And that side's ready to go. It's even a little tight already. Okay, that'll give us the 1.5 inches on this side. Let's go do the other side.
Okay.
Alright, that part's easy. Got your spring perch underneath your spacer underneath your spring perch. Let's see if this spring will go in any easier. I gotta be creative with it too. Alright, so I made an error. And I'm gonna tell you guys about it, so when you do this on your own, you don't make the same mistake. So these spring perches can go either way. And this bracket screws into the end. Well, this end doesn't have the threaded holes in it. So it does go a specific direction. So I had to take that off and turn it around so I could thread on that bracket. Now that bracket's threaded on. Alright, so make sure you get your spring perch in there, your bottom spring perch in the right direction. Okay, everything's on. I'm going to start lifting it up. I'm going to get the tires put back on. I'll get those put back on before I hook up the sway bar. All right, so it's sitting back down on its own now. All I gotta do is put the sway bar back on. So I'm gonna do that now. All right, there it is, sitting back down on the ground with the 1.5 inch lift on it, front lift or leveling kit. Let's do the measuring. It was 41.25 if I remember. It's now 42.5. So at least 1.25 depending on where I had it exactly before. Right there's closer to 1/5/8 inch lift. But that's about what we wanted to achieve. I'm going to take it for a little test drive, exercise the suspension a little bit, and then pull back in here and remeasure it. I think the steering wheel will be off because you changed the geometry of the down link from the steering arm, and so I think the steering wheel will be just a little bit crooked, which isn't a big deal. Let me show you under here. Right there, you just loosen that up, and I think it'll have to go out. You'll have to lengthen that rod to straighten the steering wheel, which is easy as can be. All right, let's see how it drives and what happens. All right, there it is with the 1.5 inch leveling kit on the front. You can tell it definitely has a better stance now. The front sets up just a little higher. The steering wheel is off just a little bit. It's enough it's gonna bug me, so I'm gonna fix it, but I changed my clothes to get in the truck and drive it, so I'm not gonna do it right this second. Plus I have places to go, people to see. Thank you for joining me on this new adventure. I don't know how much of an adventure it is. The sun is right in my eyes. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining me on this new adventure, putting the front leveling kit on the 2021 Ford F-250. Harley wasn't here to help me, but she can help me on some other stuff, and we'll get her out on another hike or something. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do some other things on this truck, and I will record those as well. Don't forget to hit the bell notification so you can be notified every time I upload a new video with Harley, the adventure dog. We'll get her going on some more adventures. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for watching.